child of God. You are always the child of God. Doesn't matter, age certainly has nothing to do with it, but it has to do with many things, including the innocence that is perceived to be of the child. But in truth, you become the child in the innocence, in the letting go of everything that has been made up in this lifetime and in every lifetime. It would be so easy to accept, except there is such a fear of death. And the fear of death is really the fear of life. Death is not understood. What dies never was. What lives always has been. And the two are not related. The fear that comes from returning to love is that you won't have any choice anymore. First, it is the choice that frightens, that you do have to choose between love and hate constantly for a while. And then there's nothing to choose. In the truth of love, anyone who reaches the truth of love has no need for choice any longer. But once you return to love through your mind, through your heart, you recognize that you're home. And you don't really want any longer anything that's not in the heart of God. Everything that is played with in this world is a temporary dream, a temporary illusion of another life. I remember seeing this movie 40 years ago that was partly a story of a man who lived in fantasy. And he would leave his life and go and live an idyllic life on a farm in his dream. And it became another life for him. It was where he went to escape. And that was the thought of separation, that there was an escape to your own decision making, that you didn't have to follow anything anymore that you didn't want to. The myself, I can do it myself, I am capable, is the mistaken identity. Because in truth, your soul, your spirit is one with all. And it is the most natural element of being that you are in union with all creation. Is that possible here? Yes, absolutely. But there is a a learning that everything that you see of anyone with your eyes, it goes straight to your mind and says, you're right. This is different. This is different. This is different. I like this. I don't like this. This is good. This is bad. This is right. This is wrong. And by the time the litany is done of all the aspects of separation, you don't recognize anyone as the light of God that they truly are. I was shown at one point that as I healed, it was like a costume was being shredded, this costume that I made. And with every truth that I allowed and embraced, another thread of the costume came off. And there was a light shining through the costume because under everyone's costume is the light of love. And all that you're being asked to participate, do, join, is to see only love. It's a quiet place. It's a very quiet place when you make the decision to rest in God, when you make the decision that you want peace. It's a quiet place. It's it's a place that you may not have ever remembered where you truly exist. All of the nervous system of the body, it's uh, it's usually used for battle. To have peace within is not to necessarily just calm the nervous system. It's actually that you're no longer paying attention to the nervous system. You're in your heart. The entire relationship with the nervous system is so ego driven because it is not your friend as what you think it might be, but it is run by the mind. The nervous system is the puppet to the mind. If you, with every thought, your nervous system is moving, changing, and being used for defense in some way. Many times it's fight or flight. Many times it's stand your ground. It's all what you're choosing in the moment. But in the inner quiet, which is always within, always, you surrender the nervous system into the hands of God. You surrender your mind. You no longer want to have separate thoughts. Just want to rest and be at home in the heart of God, where you truly exist. The way to love, the return to love, the child of God. Only for your healing love, we ask for your charity We ask for the truth of love to cast its blessing on all of us. O Divine Mother, only for your love we ask for healing in this moment. We ask for healing in this moment. And that you can heal everything that is necessary. Remove all barriers that have been made in the name of fear and come home. Apenas por vosso amor, apenas por caridade, a vós te damos louvor, ó Virgem de castidade. Apenas por vosso amor, atendo nosso chamado, ajuda nosso cessar a curar a necessitado. Apenas por vosso amor, apenas por caridade. A vós te damos louvor, ó Virgem da Castidade. Only for your love. The funny thing about the ego is that it's used to protect against love. And if that isn't insanity, what is? To protect against love. And everything has to be turned upside down, right side up. That there is nothing to be protected from. And that illusion is such a sorry substitute, is too kind. There's a beautiful teaching that says, you don't ask for too much. You ask for too little of truth and settle for the unreal. You can't ask for too much when the whole universe is yours. But you can certainly ask for too little when you are the light of the universe. All my youth returns, child of God. You are the comfort of my soul in the season of sorrow. You are the wealth of my spirit in the heartbreak of loss. The unimaginable, the unknowable, that is what you give my soul when it moves in your direction. By your grace, my eyes have looked upon eternity. Dear God, how could this crumbling empire ever take me from you? The voice that sings your name is sweeter than midnight sleep, more graceful than the song of a royal poet. When deep in prayer, my faith is bound by the thought of you, not the 7 verses of faith. You greet everyone with mercy, and you melt stone hearts with love. If I were offered a kingdom and the world's riches were placed at my feet, I would bow with my face low and say, this does not compare to his love. Union is the pure wine. My life is the cup. Without your wine, what use is the cup? I once had 1,000 desires, but in my one desire to know you, all else melted away. The pure essence of your being has taken over my heart and soul. Now there is no second or third, only the sound of your sweet voice. Through your grace, I have found a treasure within myself. I have found the truth of the unseen world. I have come upon the eternal ecstasy. I have gone beyond the ravages of time. I have become one with soul. Now my heart sings. I am the soul of the world. From my first breath, I have longed for God. This longing has become my life. This longing has seen me grow old. But one mention of the divine, and all my youth comes back to me. Devotion. Devotion is sometimes seen as something very scary because in reality, or in what looks like reality in the illusion of the world, everyone in the world is devoted to the self. All decisions come as, how does this affect me? And when you live in a body and you identify with your identity, I am this, that's the seeming natural place to go. Take care of the self. But it's not the self that is true. It's this little self that holds fear, holds the belief of separation, and holds the belief in death. But true devotion to the divine is the doorway to coming home. How can you not be devoted to the totality of creation, the totality of the Creator? And devotion breaks the trance of narcissism. In devotion, you become bigger than the little self, because in devotion, you're actually melting into the divine. You're devoted to what is reality, what exists, and what you are, love. So it's a full circle of love constantly, and yet the devotion is to the divine. So you have to expand. You have to expand into the universe in that devotion because it's what you are. You no longer see the minutia of the illusion, but live in the more expanded devotion of oneness. Remember that all the healing power of love is always ready to guide the mind and heart that wants freedom. That's all that is really the secret code. I want freedom. I want peace. All the healing power of love is always, always there, ready to guide you back to love and freedom. You walked in this world in many lifetimes, truly in the belief of aloneness. You may have had other bodies around you, and you gave them identities in each lifetime, and they played out your belief system with you, and as you did the same. But you always, everyone, always saw themselves as alone, not realizing that that sense of being alone was actually the belief in separation from God. And the body was just there to prove separation. You can't help but think separation is real if you see different bodies everywhere and you identify it with everyone being another. This is what all the healing is about, is that there is no other. Maybe there are distinctions in that in the world, like all white people are closer kin. There is no other. There is no differences other than a form that says, look, proves that we're different. And the truth of love is calling everyone back to the oneness where you truly exist. And all the differences become part of the divine light of the world, the light of the universe. Some people at some times in their lives are trying to be as different as possible, different from everybody else, wanting to be unique, fighting to be unique. And others are trying to be as similar to somebody or some group as they possibly can so they feel that they belong. But it's all the same. It's all the belief in separation. And every day is the purpose of every day is to return to the realization of oneness, to no longer give power to the eyes of the body when the heart is what really sees. Try try having compassion through your eyes. Doesn't work. But open your heart and compassion can flow. Because compassion says you are whole and complete and you don't need to suffer. Because the suffering is all because of the belief of separation. Self-attack through every thought that does not express love. Every thought that is a comparison, every thought that is an idea of wrongdoing, being betrayed, unfairly treated, whatever it hooks onto, it's the belief in separation. And that is what everyone is here to heal. There is no one that has ever walked the earth that you don't know, that is not one with you. So imagine when you have an opinion about someone by their appearance, maybe the way they smell, maybe the way they talk, whatever it happens to be, whatever that is that you have a reaction to is your evidence that you're separate because you're looking at the outside form and deciding it doesn't meet some standard. There's also the opposite, if you want to call it that, the opposite side of the coin of duality, which is that you only go toward those that you admire or that you find interesting or acceptable. When all of this journey here on this planet of differences, every day is to take off that next veneer that keeps you from recognizing the truth of love that is everyone. Why is there so much healing in the understanding of projection? Because it is the number one weapon of the ego. Project everything. I call it the hot potato syndrome. Everything that you comes up in you that you don't like or that you are irritated with or that you want different or that you think you know anything, all of that is the hot potato. Try to get rid of your judgments, self hatred, because everybody hates themselves. And you try to get rid of it by seeing it in somebody else. So then you can feel more justified in your opinions. But you're only seeing what you believe about yourself. And at the very least, you're seeing what you believe in, even if it's a tiny little spot. So, why does everybody want to project? Well, if you hate something, it will poison your heart with its pain and suffering. And so you try to get rid of it. If someone else is the center of the problem, then you can be part of the gang that thinks that's true. That's how mobs actually work. It's them. They're the problem. And everyone in that mob is in pain because they don't know love. They don't know who they are. They don't know the truth. And so they poison themselves with self hatred and then try to get rid of it by making it about somebody else. It's amazing how it doesn't work. All it does is separate, and one has to be better than the other in the world of separation. In every culture, in every country, there's rules of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and they're all made up. In one country, the more yellow you have in your skin, the more attractive you are. In another country, it's another color. And none of it means anything, not a thing, other than you are seeing a reflection of yourself beyond the form. Every heart, every spirit, one in love. Now, this may seem scary to think that you have to make nice with everybody, but why aren't everybody making nice? Why aren't why isn't the world finding that place of love? Because to hate is easier than to love. It's what's known, it's what's agreed upon, and it's what almost every beloved holds as the past, being unfairly treated, being betrayed, and all of that projection, all of that mind projection you carry in your life, and you compare every situation to the past situations, even to past life situations, and repeat the same things, including the hot potato. Imagine that you can, in this moment, recognize that every thought that you've ever thought of insanity, you can now let go and be free from every thought of what you thought you knew about the past, surrendering it into the hands of love and being free. Free to love. Free to love without conditions. What does that mean? That means that there is not one element of difference, levels, degrees that separates anyone. That all these forms will fall away and love will show itself as everything. Every heart, every mind returned to love. I used to, in learning, I used to put a caveat on that, that I had to learn to love all the ones I hated because I'd be with them forever. And it helped. It helped because I knew it was true. It was true that it is forever. You will be with every beloved in oneness. We will be forever one. So, how would you take that hatred, that belief in being betrayed or being unfairly treated or unloved? How do you take that and go to forever? You don't. You can't really come to forever with anything but love. So even though I was working on not hating, the realization was it wasn't possible to hate and be with everyone forever. I would be then here playing it out again and again and again and again until I raised the white flag and said, I want to come home. I want to return to love. And love always answers. the humble heart that willingly surrenders. There is an element of the ego that, as all parts of the ego are not your friend, this one is as well not your friend. And it is the privilege and indulgence of the ego. And everybody carries it differently. Some it's just a little tiny dust. But it's the idea that your healing is, of course, guaranteed, but you have to want it. There is no one, this is what is the indulgence. It's like having a maid that is going to make sure that you eat dinner, instead of I can eat. But the indulgence is I want to be asked to come home. And I don't want to be the one who needs to come home. I know that sounds silly when you're thinking of going home for eternity, back to the divine spirit. But it's a very lonely place to be with indulgence, because without your willingness, spirit can't enter. Spirit can't force you to change or heal. So the devotion has to be there. The willingness has to be there. Devotion to the truth, devotion to love, devotion to the oneness, and the blessings that there are no differences. Thank God. Only love. Only love exists. I wrote down this little poem. Every step I take is toward you. Every question I ask is about you. Nothing is harmful or beneficent apart from you. That is the devotion that is really called for, but it's not something that you can get to without wanting it. There's no one, there's no teacher that's going to say, come on, please, come on, come on. That's that's what's wanted sometimes, but it, there's such an important element in not begging someone to give up, give over to God. That the willingness is essential. What you want is essential to being at the center of the movement of your own healing and remembering. How important is it for the child who is acting in a play for the first time to want to play the part, to want to be on that stage? That yearning, that wanting, that willingness is what opens the door. What says, help me with the truth, please, because I can't do this on my own. There's no way. Help me. Help me see what's real. Help me see what I've made up. Help me. You are the comfort of my soul in the season of sorrow. You are the wealth of my spirit in the heartbreak of loss. As everything in the world falls away, you are the wealth of my spirit. Thank God. By your grace, my eyes have looked upon eternity. Oh God, how could this crumbling empire ever take me from you? Devotion. One heart of love forever. Devotion.